Pigs is back. I don't want to. We're in December, and we took some time off, but the boxing world really didn't come up with a lot to keep us busy here. And this weekend there happens to be what I rate as a great fight, which is Prograis versus Haney, and I'll let the guru Anthony Scott Piatt tell us all about it.
This is going to be a fun fight. Looking back at the Lomachenko fight, maybe he showed us a little bit of a blueprint on how to take Haney. I think that fight was very, very close, as a lot of folks did. And now Prograis doesn't have the ability to close the gap in the same way that Lomachenko did with his skills. But Prograis bigger, and he hits harder. And Haney, with his 50% knockout rate, the last 6 fights are by decision. That 50% knockout rate we've mentioned before was built in a bullfighting bar in Tijuana, Mexico. Some sort of silliness going on there. And let's not fail to mention now that the claim is that he was maybe knocked out in one of those fights that was left off the record, or at least got a loss. So anyway, listen, I don't want to pile on Haney and act like I hate the guy. I don't care for a lot of vibe I get from him. I don't care for how he's handled his career. I don't care for his style. Let's put it that way. It's boring. Like Demetrius Andrade. We've gone and talked about Andrade several times on here, and I said he's going to get exposed. He ducked Janibek twice. He ducked the other guy. I'm sorry. Maybe it was Ryder twice. And there's a reason he was ducking all these fights. And I tried to tell folks he doesn't deserve the Canelo fight, and we just had that Andrade loss. Side note real quick to Amanda Serrano, first 12-round, 3-minute women's champion. We did call that one a while back too. Said put your money on the decision. She's not going to want to knock her out. She wants the world record, and she has it. So congratulations, Amanda Serrano. Back to Regis Prograis and Devin Haney. Look, it's plus 310. This is a dog watch. I'm not saying Prograis is going to win. If I had to put the pick, it's Haney by decision. But Prograis at plus 310, I can take $25 I don't need, and I win 102, and I have a nice dinner out of it or whatnot. The draw is plus 1280, which still pays really well. I put 20 on it for 276. But keep in mind, that plus 1280 is actually low compared to the fact that most start out at about plus 2,000, plus 2,500. Most of your draws by default come in at about plus 2,000. The fact that we're nearly 800 shy of that number here tells us that it is a little bit more possible. But at the plus 1280, it still pays so well, Miguel. I'm putting a little on that and a little on Regis Prograis. Again, I'm not really sharing locks with you on this podcast. These are fun bets that pay well. This is a dog watch, not a dog pick. I want to be clear of that. I do have a 2-leg parlay that I'll share in just a moment that I feel really good about. And I think that one's going to hit. I hope Regis Prograis can bring home the money for us. The 2-leg parlay is pretty simple. Ebony Bridges, points or decision, that's a minus 230. And that's really adding a little more juice to Rohan Polanco at plus 182 for the knockout. I'm pretty sure he's going to get Keith Hunter on this. He's a minus 1,300 to win, a plus 182 for the knockout. I do see that coming. I do like that at plus 304. The combination of Ebony Bridges, points and decision, Rohan Polanco by knockout comes in at plus 304. That's $25 for $101 win. And I do like that one quite a bit. Okay, so the 11 leg. Now we've done a lot of 8-leg parlays. We've done a lot of 4 and 5, and we've done a lot of 8s. But this 11 leg, folks, is something I put together as a bookmark. I went ahead and bet it because I like it so much. But you might take 3 or 4 of these and mix it with, a basketball game or your favorite MMA fight. or whatever else you're pretty sure of. If you're real sure about Devin Haney, throw him on here with 3 or 4 of these from this 11 leg to make sure you can get some return on your money. There's not any money in Devin Haney at minus 400. So those of you folks that do want Devin Haney, and it is a smart choice, mix it with 3 or 4 of these, get yourself to plus 100 on the money. That 11 leg, Miguel, I sent it to you. We can throw it on the screen, but that 11 leg would be Damian Neba, minus 750. Richard Torres, quite a knockout run for Richard Torres, minus 2,400. The method of victory on the knockout, not available. So minus 2,400. These are all money line on the 11 leg. Amari Jones, minus 14. Beatrice Ferreira, minus 24. Rohan Polanco, again, we took him the knockout in the 2 leg here. Just money line, minus 1,300. Delonte Johnson, minus 12. Ebony Bridges, minus 2. No, I'm sorry, I didn't write down what she is money line, but Ebony Bridges money line. Bruce Carrington, minus 18. Andy Cruz, minus 3,000. 2 good fighters to round out this card. Let's point out Xander Zayas, minus 2,400, and Robisi Ramirez at minus 14. 2 pretty good fighters. They're not in great matchups tonight, but guys that you want to take a look at their style and see how they're going to match up against folks that they get pitted against next year. And there'll be some good matches with these folks over the next couple of years. So there's a lot of value in watching these, even though they're not great fights as of tonight. That's your 11 leg. Look, it's plus 112. I put $50 on it to win 106. Again, mix and match, do what you want. We know 11's crazy. Chucky Billups over at Sharps. He gets a kick out of watching these bets. And this one is obviously, with 11 picks, it's going to be a tough one to make all 11. But that's the fun of it. The one I think I would sweat is actually the minus 1250. Delonte Johnson over Himmer Espinoza. I think that should only be like a minus 700 after thinking about it. I did a little bit more research. I watched a little bit more. I might not pick that one if you were going to build something with your Haney pick like we talked about. Leave that Delonte Johnson alone. I do expect him to win, but for some reason, it's the question mark of the 11 for me. So there you are. There's full disclosure on everything I could. These are fun picks. Don't bet the bank on them, but have a little fun with these. That 2-leg parlay, probably my favorite. The Ebony Bridges by decision and Polanco by knockout. So at least there's something to bet on this week. 2 shows. I think we're on DAZN. And the early stuff is free, and then it's pay-per-view, and then I think it's ESPN for the other card. So those of you in the States can get both of those, at least the prelims, and get them watched for free. The pay-per-view is available on DAZN as well. What about in Costa Rica? Those of you that don't know, Miguel's in Costa Rica. You're going to be trying to watch a couple fights today too, Miguel, I hope.
Yeah, we usually, on the cable packages here, we usually get whatever are the options in Mexico. So, like, it might be a ESPN, or it might be something like that, or if I haven't done too many pay-per-views. The bigger fights, you go out for, and the place shows it. So,
all right.
Like for Ngannou Fury, for example, that sort of thing. Yeah. You spend the afternoon watching the fight at a place. But so everybody out there, hi again, and you can tell Anthony's excited, and that's good when we got Anthony excited. He just came out and just shot, boom, everything he had. And this is the first time that the boxing world has cooperated with us, really. Yeah, this is the first time the boxing world has cooperated with us in a little bit, in terms of quantity and quality, of choices there. And Robisi's the Cuban kid, right? Yeah, who's done, fairly well, changed his style. And he's a fellow that doesn't necessarily fight in that Cuban style as much as some of the other Cuban fighters retain that sort of amateur style a little bit more, or when it translates to pro, you can tell it used to be the Cuban amateur, if you will. Robisi comes out and sort of does his own thing, and I think that's
I think it's both how he sees his place in the world and his place in the ring. You know, making his own way, if you will.
Let me jump to Prograis and Haney because there's a lot to unpack here, I think.
Yes, sir.
The bottom line is this would have made a great semi-co-main event for a terrific card under Ngannou Fury. Instead, they choose to produce trash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And this hard fight, this level of fight, this quality fight is really hard to come by in boxing. And that's one thing that the UFC does have an upper leg on them is they can put this as a co-main event on one of their big shows or a semi-co-main event on the pay-per-view card. All that's meaningful. And they also have the option of turning around and saying, we'll make it a main event on a smaller show and bring the guys along. And there is some progression. And so the UFC system, which is about to be challenged in April, I don't know if we mentioned this, but in April, the fighters' class action lawsuit against them goes to court. And that court date is pretty firmly set. I think it's April 7th or 8th, something like that, where we'll start the trial. I talked to one of the lawyers. He expects it to go 5 weeks. And then the UFC appeals if they lose. But there's a good chance of them losing as a monopoly type of entity, and they will have to change some of their business practices with their contracts and things like that.
Yeah.
But, even though, Tyson Fury made a lot of money, the undercard guys there, there was nothing terrific there. There was no reason to really pay for it. It looked like they were trying to save money on the undercard. You know what I mean? And that's what the UFC doesn't do. So anyway, Prograis, Devin Haney, these guys are, over the last 10 years, guys that have paid their dues and put in work. You mentioned starting in a bar, but okay, it's okay. You start at a bar. There are a lot of guys that start at the bar and end at the bar. You know what I mean? And so
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
He's risen because he's got good people around him that are taking care of him. But that is a double-edged sword at times. You know what I mean? Maybe they protected him too much or whatever, this and that. Now, obviously, the win over Lomachenko, it's a fantastic win. You can't discount that. It's important. And especially if you're one of those people that 5 years ago couldn't stop, massaging Lomachenko, and Lomachenko had his moments of brilliance. Don't get me wrong. But that's still that's a good win for him. It's actually a better win than anything Prograis has on his record. You know what I mean?
It is. I mean, I think it's it plays real well. I think he's smart to leave the division and move up. The weight was probably hurting Haney. But an older, injured, and coming back from war Lomachenko did put on a hell of a fight in that, and it looks good on his resume. But at the same time, I think with a lot of people it hurt Haney. I think a lot of people that were fans of Haney saw chinks in the armor in that fight. And I think people that were maybe indifferent didn't care for Lomachenko or Haney, just watching to watch, boxing fans. Maybe there's a little bit more skepticism with Haney moving up to 140. If you couldn't handle Lomachenko, who moved up to 135, let's not forget, and is old and has had his shoulder reconnected twice, and all those things, and you had that much trouble with him, a guy who's really a 130 pounder, and now you're going to move up again?
So anyway, Prograis, Haney, I think we're getting a stellar fight. These guys, like I said, we were talking about paying the dues. I think Prograis is another guy that paid the dues. And Prograis, in a certain way, has one of those boxes checked that I don't think Haney really has. And that is, he took a loss. Okay, that's the easy one, right? But let's analyze that loss. Josh Taylor's pretty good. Okay, you can say that. And Prograis did take the step of going into the Lions Den and going to England to take that fight. Mm-hmm. And when you take risks like that, okay, there's a little bit of that fight didn't go his way. It's the only one that hasn't gone his way. And you could consider maybe that he hasn't blown up because of that. He was considered a pretty good boxer going into that fight. And I think he's still a pretty good boxer. I think he still has a little bit of that hunger and stuff like that. I don't think this is a bad pick. He seems to be smaller than Haney, and that just tells you how much, weight cutting Haney was doing to get to 135. I agree that Haney's style is already not built around power, so I don't know that we'll see great power manifest all of a sudden. I don't think that's the case. If it happens, I thought about it for a minute. It could, I guess, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. Not in Haney's case. His style's not built around that type of but Prograis can hit.
Right.
And
right.
He's in his natural weight class.
Right. He's not adjusting. It's not his first fight at it. And you mentioned something about the one loss. Is Prograis not positioned a little bit where Teofimo Lopez was? He's going along in his career. He has the loss. We start to count Teofimo out. Yeah. He comes back and has damn near the performance of the year. And he's back in the pound for pound ranking. And you see what I'm saying?
No, for sure. He has that. So at one point in boxing in the last few years, the last 10 years or so, Crawford made his lightweight jump to super lightweight, to this weight class where Prograis is, and had every belt there. And then when he left to go to welter, there was a group of guys, Taylor, Prograis leading the pack, but there was a good group of guys there. But like I said at the beginning, boxing sometimes lacks an ability to make meaningful matches that, because everybody, I don't know why, but some of those matches need to happen. And if you're telling me that, the top guys have to make $50 to $100 million for their fights and stuff like that, then then we know who's getting rich. But we miss out on all these fights because those guys are sitting around waiting for an opportunity like that. Yeah. And lo and behold, so it's a situation where I like the fight because I think it needs to happen. I think fights like this need to happen across the divisions in every part of boxing. High-rated guy coming up, a guy coming back on the comeback trail that still has a lot to lose. Prograis, that record can still be explained, and he can still shine and be a great fighter. Lomachenko.
Well, if he wins this fight, obviously, if he wins this fight, there'll be calls for him to be, even in the top 10 pound for pound, and all those sorts of things will start to be discussed. And he'll be right back in. And 140 is a heck of a division. I mean, listen, it's really interesting. Prograis, on one ranking I saw, Prograis was ranked number 1 with Haney ranked number 4 in the division. Of course, he's just joining it. Yeah. But then a big favorite over the number 1 guy. So it's understandable. I get it that we can't confuse the rankings, with the betting lines, because rankings also have to do with what you've done either in the division or in a division very close to it. Yeah. Regardless of what your skills can probably do, he can probably beat this guy or that guy. He still has to prove it. So
where your check was written
to. That's true too. That's true too.
But I think this fight is a gutsy fight and has the potential to be like, I don't want to say fight of the year or anything like that, but remember when fight of the year used to mean something? It doesn't seem to mean anything in boxing anymore. Maybe you'll get 1 or 2 good fights, but nowadays they'll probably point to one of the big pay-per-view card type of things instead of really analyzing what was a throwdown fight. Haney, Haney's known as a technical guy, and Prograis, I think, is a good mix of technical but he can brawl. And I think brawling might be this for this to go Prograis' way, this would have to look like Maidana Broner.
Okay.
You know
Dirty,
what I mean?
Nasty.
Yeah, just get the guy's clearly pissed him off. And go and let him know. Now this is where the buck stops here kind of thing, or whatever you want to use to describe that emotion. I think Prograis is the right type of guy to fight that way if he needs to. And I think that's a good, Broner and Haney, I don't know if, everybody will agree, but in my eyes, that's not a terrible comparison. Maidana,
No.
and this could wind up going like Maidana Mayweather, but Maidana had some moments in that fight better than other people did. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I think Prograis is going to be in the neighborhood, and I think that it comes down to a mind game. How strong is Haney's mind? Can he resist? Oh shit, we're not boxing if that happens. You know what I mean? We're fighting, and
right. And if Haney puts a glove on the canvas or takes a knee from a body shot, even for a second or an 8 count or anything, then you're looking at that draw or possible upset real quick, like maybe a temple shot and it's just a loss of balance and he gets a count and he's back up and he starts winning rounds again. But if a temple shot or a body shot can get him down for even a glove touch and get a 10-8 round in Prograis' side, then this draw is real possible, because even for the number of punches thrown, Haney isn't super prolific either, being a defensive and a counter guy. So
a lot like Broner.
A lot like Broner. And Prograis could outbox him, number of punches thrown, and possibly win. If he wins 3 or 4 rounds just on output, and he can put Haney down once, we're looking at a draw, folks. Maybe we're looking at an upset.
And the thing about Prograis is, mentally, I don't think he's afraid of a war. So if that's what manifests, so what we're going to go back to, what we can go back to here is, was Haney going? He has to make 140 here. So was his extra 5-pound cut to 135 enough to drain him of his power? And like me and you have already mentioned, I don't think he's going to manifest power all of a sudden. Especially his style's not. He's not built for that type of. He likes to play the technical game. That's how he's sort of established himself. So I don't think Prograis is going to be in any danger of that. He may be in danger of being outboxed, but I like I said, a lot of that comes down to mindset too. Prograis isn't going to. If he hears just a clip of me saying Prograis is in danger of being outboxed, that's going to get to him. He isn't going to like that, because he's got real comfort in his boxing also. You know what I mean? It's not like he's a slouch. So,
right. No, by no means.
I think from what I've seen that I like Prograis' mindset going into this fight as well. And I've always liked this guy.
And that's why I'm happy with this, with the money where it's at. Again, listen, if this 2-leg parlay hits, the Ebony Bridges points or decision and the Rohan Polanco, and I turn 25 into 100, then I may look at taking half of that profit, $50, 25 to $50, and looking at the Prograis Haney fight a little bit heavier. Again, be careful with your units and how you spread things out and bankroll and all that. But if we've got a little profit going in, I may juice up a little bit on this, because I do like this matchup. And, where I may see it is, it's going to be fun to watch. And even if I think Haney is a favorite by a 55 or, 60-40 or whatever, the plus 310 on Regis is just too good to pass up. And that's where I'm at on it. Yeah,
no, I would jump on the Prograis bandwagon again. You know what I mean? And I think he had a little bit of a bandwagon going. Then, after the Taylor fight, you lose a little bit of the shine with the, loss and stuff like that. But I think, at this point in his career too, I don't think he's ready to be like, journeyman time. You know what I mean? So
he's not going to phone it in. He might lose, but he's going to give an effort. We know he's giving an effort tonight.
Yeah, and I've always liked that about him. That part that he's also hardworking. So this is definitely a fight to watch. One thing I want to ask you is, and when you're offline here and we stop taping, I'll have you send me pictures so I can put them up for the people here. So what happens to Prograis knockout in round 1 through 4? Like, what are the betting odds for that?
I won't be able to call him up. As you can see, I'm in the truck, so I'm using the phone, and I can't do the live research like we do sometimes. But let's test my memory. I did look it up because I was curious about that too. And I believe you're going to be in that, plus 1,300, maybe plus, if you're going to pick a single round, you can probably get plus 4,000.
Wow.
But if you're going to pick a one, say like a 1 through 3 or maybe a 1 through 6, they might offer, you're probably going to find that at plus 1,500, I would imagine. But if you can pick an actual round, you might get plus 5,000. I wouldn't think it would happen in the first 2, but could something happen 3 through 6, maybe? And
right,
if you could find a
if you want to draw that scenario to pick a round, you could pinpoint. This is if the fight goes exactly how Prograis
wants it to, right?
Yeah,
everything's perfect.
Would write it out. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
right.
First round, they feel each other out. Prograis comes to the corner confident. He ain't got nothing. Yep. Second round, he puts the pressure on him, hurts him late. Third or fourth, he kills him. That would be the script for him.
Yes. And so if you can get,
third,
if they're offering say 3 through 5, or again, I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but if you can find even a 1 through 6, maybe even just the knockout for Prograis is paying plus 700, I'll bet. Probably plus 700 or 800 just for a knockout for Prograis easily. I mean, he's plus 300. So I actually think he's probably plus 700 to win by decision and probably closer to plus 1,000 to win by knockout. So maybe you just take the pure knockout, but if you did go with those rounds, you're probably likely to get, again, maybe plus 2,000 if you narrow it down to 3 or 4 rounds. And if you take a specific round, it's got to be plus 4,000, plus 5,000. I mean, crazy. Right. So if you wanted to go with the 4th round, again, I don't have these in front of me. It'll be interesting to see how close I am on these. But I think money line would be plus 800, 700, and I think Prograis knockout might be close to 1,000 for an anytime knockout. So if you're going to go rounds, it's got to be higher than that.
So, yeah, and I think, like I said, it's got to go a certain way, but that's not complete fantasy land. That's a plausible scenario for this fight. Judging, we've got a good body of work on both guys that we've been able to see over the last 10 years as they come up and stuff. And you're right. I think, yeah, there's something not cool about Haney. You know what I mean? It's just he's not a likable guy. Like Gervonta is more likable. You know what I mean? Although they have that, they want to. I think Gervonta's more legit. You know what I mean? And that's I don't want to be getting into extras and stuff like that. But I don't like a lot about Haney's presentations. You know what I mean?
I've had this talk with a lot of folks that I respect that see it differently than I do. Okay, look, Bill Haney was in Oakland in the gang life there, fairly high up from what I understand. He's an OG type guy, but I think you look at other great where dads were great and maybe the sons had a little bit more privilege. I was going
to tell you, I was just going to interrupt you and say, that almost sounds like you're telling me Bill Haney's reached a certain level at whatever gives him cred, sort of like Julio Cesar Chavez.
That's exact. That's the exact example I was going to get to. Right. Because we've all seen, Junior fight and phone it in and not care, and he didn't train hard enough. He's out of shape. He doesn't have the fire, he doesn't have that. I had to do this so many times on the street any rate, looking like I'm down and out and if I don't win, how am I going to make it? That was standard. That was normal. So being down in the 7th round in the corner talking to a guy that's really about that is different than talking to a kid who was about getting everything he wanted for Christmas. That's different. That's different.
I think you hit it on the head. I think Haney has a little bit of a spoiled child kind of mentality kind of thing. I don't know. And I think Prograis, the best word I can describe him with is gritty. I always liked that about him. You know what I mean? He can, like
that
I
New
said,
Orleans, man.
Yeah,
he got that Southern Cajun thing going for him. And I just like the dog in the guy. I just like his dog in him on this one. So, hey, a lot of people like Haney. Like I said, he probably wins by decision, but the numbers for Prograis are too good on this to pass up. So that's where I'm putting it at. Enjoy the fights, and if you disagree with us, put it in, tell me about it. That's all right. It's all right. Come on, bring everything you got. We're going to make our picks the way we do, and for the reasons, and for the money, where the money's at. We don't get too emotional about it. We don't like our love of a fighter or our dislike of a fighter put our money in a bad spot. But a lot of people like Haney, and they've clearly bet on him and made Prograis a plus 310, and I don't think he should be that. I think he should be about a plus 150. Okay, so that's double what it should be. And that's when we put our money on it. It's that simple, folks.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Great stuff. Great comeback once again. Let's get to work and come back on this, and let's watch a great night of fights. All right.
Talk to you soon.